I'm back here with this Deluxe Reverb I actually had on the bench a little while ago. The customer's brought it back because he wanted channel 2 to be a little more like channel 1, and I was going to remove the bright cap, which I've already done. But in the process of doing that, we kind of discovered that the bass control seemed backwards, and it still didn't have any bottom end on this channel, the second channel, at all. So in other words, when you turned the bass all the way down, it would give you maximum bass. So something definitely wasn't right. And when I opened this thing up, I had assumed that the previous tech changed these caps in the tone stacks for each channel. Just changed them to a different cap that was the stock value, but he had not done that. Instead of a 0.1 and a 0.047, which are here, let's see, yeah, or excuse me, let's get that focused. Okay, yeah. Instead of this 0.1 and this 0.047, he had installed 0.022s in both positions. I mean, if you want a tone stack that actually works, you really need these caps to be separate, because what they're doing is they're sending separate frequencies through to a different part of the circuit. And if you have these the same, then you're sending the same. You're sending basically half of the signal here and then half of the signal here. And this is basically your fixed mids, is going to be about the same. It's going to receive about the same at this leg as your bass is going to receive. So your bass control, that is. So I don't know if they were trying to, obviously they were trying to modify this in some way, but what I've done is just return it to stock with the 0.1 and the 0.047. When in doubt, stock is usually best, and since I had replaced everything back to stock anyway, rebiased the amp back properly and everything, I felt the best thing to do was just go ahead and put it back to stock and see what it sounded like, and it sounds a hell of a lot better. The reason the bass was reacting backwards and it didn't have any kind of oomph on this second channel was because these legs actually were just barely hanging on in both of these points. One of the legs actually wasn't on at all. It was just hung on there, I think, with some of the wax, because all I did was I moved it a little forcefully and it just came right loose. So I think it was just held on there with wax. So what the previous tech had done was melt some wax, and that's all that was holding that leg on. So that was definitely screwed up. And then this one here was just barely held on as well. Now it was at least connected, but it was connected onto the top. It wasn't even through the eyelet. So yeah, that was a bit weird. But yeah, you come across that stuff, and definitely I'm going to come through here and check the rest of these. The rest of these connections seem okay. I mean, he didn't do the prettiest job anyway, and I kind of took mental note of that when I had this thing, that these weren't. I mean, he kind of left all the leg on and everything, so they're kind of up in the air and stuff. But I mean, that's not the end of the world, but it is the end of the world if you don't at least put the legs through the eyelets and get them connected properly. So yeah, anyway, to the customer who was curious about what the problem was, and so was I. that was the problem. We had one of these caps that wasn't even connected, so that tone stack for that second channel was just totally screwed up. So this should take care of it. We are definitely now back to stock values on both the first channel and the second channel for the tone stacks. And I've just kind of played it preliminarily, and everything sounds good. So we're going to button it up and do an actual test this time. Last time I did sort of a cursory test, and I went through the controls and kind of made sure they worked, and it seemed like everything was working fine. And that's why I kind of just buttoned it up and wiped my hands and called it a day. But this will be a lesson to me. I usually make it a point to play the amplifiers before I send them back to somebody. This time it just, I did play it, but I guess I didn't play it long enough to figure out that bass control wasn't quite right. So my fault, and the customer obviously won't get a charge for this.